Friend. Okay, today I'm going to share a quick one, which is a lesson that I've been working on in one of the training programs that I'm in. And my teacher, Alyssa, really helped ground this one for me. And that is growing up and waking up are both critical parts of this evolutionary journey. And I'll share what both of those are in a minute. But I learned that I had a natural tendency to move towards one of these resources and miss the other one. And so I'm thinking that's probably a pattern, and it maybe happens for you as well. Maybe it's a bigger pattern in the world. So I'm going to share both of these resources in case you missed one. All right, so let me start with an example. So this is my truth. This is my little shakiness right here. So one of my edges is charging for stuff, charging for services, and I'm growing in this area. So one of the little tender pieces that is here for me that I've projected onto something that could be completely neutral is this old story of this work that I value so highly, that is, the most important thing to me. It's not as important to other people, right? So you can tell already that it's a non-adaptive thought because it's vague. But what I want to focus on is bringing attention to the binary that I set up inside this statement, which is important and not important, right? So the wake up is asking, what is the truth here, right? There's no such thing as important or not important, right? Is the micro moment of a bee drinking nectar important or not important? Is the ordinary moment of me folding my laundry important or not important in the eyes of the universe, right? Is making a video different importance than my going to sleep in the eyes of the tree outside, right? So how about the dog resting versus the dog playing fetch? Does the dog think that one of those is more important than the other, right? It sort of becomes like, see the silliness in it, right? It doesn't should itself or judge itself into doing a different one, right? It's all neutral, it's all the same. So the wake up, important, not important, just a concept humans made up, beyond the binary of the concept, beyond the story. That's the wake up. And so I've tended to lean more in the direction of this side of the resource. And so you can notice for yourself, is the wake up a resource that's more familiar to you or less? So that's the wake up. All right. So now talk about growing up. Okay. So growing up, it's also about moving beyond binaries, but different ones. So if we go back to my example, the idea that what I'm doing could be less important or perceived as less important. I call this the one downs, right? I one down myself and then project out an image of a group of other people, right, them, that are up there and looking down. And so, right, one down, one up. Of course, none of this is actually occurring, but it's a really good view into the structure of the ego mind, which works in one ups and one downs, from the way that I see it and experience it and become aware of it inside myself. And it's always creating that binary of one up, one down. And so, coming into the resourced ego position would look like being able to say, hey, what I'm doing is important, and what others are doing is important too. And so often there's been a really strong repeated pathway of the one downing oneself in a certain way. And so for that to come into more resource, it actually needs to be flipped to the opposite. And so if I say to myself, if the thought was my stuff isn't perceived as important, the flip would be what I'm doing is perceived as important. And of course, we already talked about the wake up, which is, that's not even real. But the part of me, this is the important piece that I was missing before. The part of me that one downs myself and says, no one's gonna think that's important. That part's about 6 years old. I've checked, and that's the one that says this. They're about 6. And the 6-year-old doesn't know that important and not important is just a concept that's made up. To them, it's real. And that's what matters. And so the resource for growing up is and embracing the little one that still believes that, who still thinks the binaries are true, is really connecting with what they actually need to hear, and that's like, hey, tender heart, like, hey, little one, what you're doing, it matters, it matters, and people see it. It matters and people see it. So that's my big lesson here, that the growing up and the waking up are both important, and to notice both of these resources are here for us. And there's just so many ways and chances that we have to get free. Every little thing, that's the challenge. That's the way to get free. So that's it, friend. Growing up and waking up, try them both. Why not? And enjoy.